Hey guys, it's Brooke here from the Vintage Gardener. Welcome back to my channel. So it has been a minute. It's been a long minute. This summer has completely gotten away from me. Most of you guys know that this year I started a backyard nursery called Peonies, Petals Poseys, and I've been doing the whole farmers market thing. So it has not left me a lot of time for anything, including gardening. My garden is looking positively wild. So this is going to be one of these years where basically I'm pretty much going to be spending the entire time cleaning up the garden, setting everything up for next year. And so I probably will be gardening right up till Christmas. That's just probably how it's going to go. So I'm kind of coming to the end of the farmers market season. I'm thinking like September, probably, I would say, let me look at my calendar right quick. Not the last week in September is the gardener's market, so I'm not going to be doing a market then, if I remember correctly. So I would say probably the 21st of September is probably gonna be it, because I'm getting burnt out. I'm getting really burnt out, and I would like to be able to enjoy my own garden. You know, like I said, this entire season just kind of completely got away from me. So anyway, that's kind of the point of this video. So this video is going to be about all the things I wish I had known about doing farmers market, because the farmers market thing did not go the way I thought it was going to go. And, you know, for me, in my mind, I had it planned that I was going to start farmers markets at this time. And so that didn't happen. I ended up, you know, I didn't get approved the way I thought I was going to get approved to be in a farmer's market, but I was given the option of doing an early market. And so I actually launched in April, where I was thinking I wasn't going to be, you know, launching until like the second Saturday in May. And so I felt super rushed the entire season. I just kind of felt like I've been going, you know, like this all over the place. And so I never felt like I really quite caught up. And so I'm just, you know, I'm burnt out. Certain things, it just, like I said, so let's just get into what I wish someone would have told me about being a vendor at a farmer's market. And I have my notes here, so if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. Okay, so you know, I did do research. You know, I looked up all kinds of videos on YouTube trying to find you know, videos on people doing farmers markets and that sort of thing. And so people, you know, would show their setup, what they were taking and that sort of thing. But one thing I would say people really never went over was like how to choose a farmer's market, like the process of getting into a farmer's market. And I will tell you about the process of, you know, the application process, but that's probably going to be in another video, because I think this one's going to be kind of long. And so nobody really talked about, you know, all things you should take into consideration. And so, so that's what I'm gonna do. Now, I am a plant vendor, so everything I'm telling you is based upon my experience as a plant vendor. You may not be a plant vendor. You may be an actual farmer. You may be like a beekeeper who's got honey. You know, even if you're a plant vendor, you may be a specialty one. You may be a crafter. You may be a maker. So some of the things I say I'm going to talk about are may not be directly applicable, but there should be enough in there. I'll give you enough so that you know what kind of questions you should be asking for yourself, which I think will be helpful. So at least you know where to start. So first things first, the thing you have to remember about a farmer's market is that a farmer's market itself is a business. So they charge vendors for their spots. And so, you know, they're there to make money. And so although most of them do care that the vendors are making money, they're making money even if you're not making money. And some of the places are more motivated than others to actually promote the market and promote the vendors. I certainly understand that it's not their responsibility to promote my business. I need to do what I need to do for me. But when you're starting out a business, you don't have a reputation. People don't know who you are. And so one of the things when you're looking for a market is, what do they do in terms of the vendors? So the first thing I would say is that if you're planning, if for whatever reason you're going to plan to do a farmer's market, first thing I would do is I would follow them on social media. I would see what they're posting, how they're posting, that sort of thing. Are they giving vendors shout outs? Are they posting footage of the market that day? If you as a vendor post something, are they like posting it in their stories? Like, what do they have an email group? Some farmers markets, if you like that farmers market, you follow them. They send out email blasts telling who are the vendors, what special things they're going to have. Are they doing that? Because as a business, when you're first starting out anything, you don't have a reputation, you don't have a name, people don't know who you are. So anything that helps you kind of get your name out there is going to be good. Also, do they update their website? One of the markets that I'm part of, I assumed they were going to update their website, as far as I know. And I haven't been there recently, but I can tell you when I first started there, for a month, they never updated their website to include me as a vendor. That's big, because if people are going to check out your farmer's market and they don't even see you on there, that definitely wasn't helpful. Because one thing that I was hearing from a lot of people at that market was like, oh, I didn't even know you were here. I didn't know that your business was going to be here, because once again, I wasn't even listed as a vendor on their website. And, I understand that it's like they say, well, we're not going to, we're they made it very clear they're not going to be promoting people, but I don't think having an updated website is promotion. I mean, how simple is it to just, these are our current vendors? Because most people are kind of going to want to know about that. So that's something that you should, you should take into consideration. The other thing is that, being a vendor is different from attending. When I visited a number of farmers markets, and, when I was there, I took note of things like, how many spaces the market had and what the crowds were like. And I did notice what vendors were there and what they had, but I wasn't overly analytical about it. For me, it was more like, okay, well, let's just, would they have space for me? Oh, there seems to be a lot of people there. Now, I did go throughout the season. The one thing that I think is different is that I probably would have made it a point to go more times than what I did do, to see how everything was, because there's going to be changes in people's purchasing patterns. And one thing I didn't take note of was what people were purchasing, how they were shopping. And so I'll give you an example. So obviously as a plant vendor, people do gardening at specific time, mostly, well, unless they're crazy like me and who just gardens whenever. For a lot of people, they, at the beginning of the season, end of April, May, that's when, and May and into June, that's when they buy the bulk of the plants. That's when they're planting. And then July, they're not planting anything because in New Jersey, it's way too hot. August, they may or may not be planting anything. Maybe in August they're replacing things that died. September, when new things come out, like for example, the fall flowers to make, container or something, they'll start doing that. And of course, if you're like a little bit more into gardening, you may be buying, like taking advantage of the sales of perennials at the fall. And so, when I look at, my sales, because like my grand opening was April, I think it was April 13th. When I look at my sales from that day and then look at my sales in July, I know the first day, the first two markets, I think the first time was 27 sales, the second time was 26. And whereas in July, I was like, I think the most sales I had in one day was 13. It's a big difference. It's a big difference because people just are not doing that. So that's just something that you're going to want to, pay that attention. The other thing is, pay attention to what the market has going on. Are they doing a lot of special events? Now, for me as a plant vendor, a special event, even though they bring a lot more foot traffic to the various markets, they don't equate, for me at least, as a plant vendor, into more sales. Because what I find with special events is that it pulls in it doesn't pull in the usual crowd. It pulls in people who aren't farmer market regulars. They're just coming there for a special event. And so when they're coming there for a special event, people like crafters, like, people who have more like knick-knack type things, or even like food, like people who have like, like granolas or like, handheld food, they do very well because when people go to special event, they're always going to eat, but they're not necessarily going to be like, oh, I'm going to a peach festival. Let me just go over here and buy some dahlias. That's just kind of not what people are going to do. So that's something that you want to take into consideration, because I think I kind of looked at it as like, oh, there's these events. Oh my goodness, there's all these people here. But once again, is it going to translate into a sale for you? And it may not necessarily do that, especially if you're selling something that doesn't really kind of fit with the theme. Like for example, they have the Mother's Day market is the first market in the season. Well, obviously being a plant vendor, that's great because people buy plants from their moms. So for example, I had a tray of 18, like a pre-designed garden. I sold a couple of those. I sold a couple peonies because people are like, oh, my mom loves peonies, I'm going to give her one. So, that's great. But like, for example, if they have like a squash day or, a cucumber celebration or sunflower celebration, like if they had a sunflower celebration, obviously I would have sunflowers for people to buy. I would probably do well because that's the whole point of the thing. But if I don't have a plant that's going to necessarily match, line up well with, whatever the event is, it's probably going to be a day that I'm going to make much lower sales. So if there's something that something I will definitely change for next year is that when I plan for next year, when I see the calendar of events, if there's something that if there is an event that I can have something to go with that event, then I'll do it. But if it's something that I just really can't, I really don't have anything that's going to, like for example, they're going to have a tomato day at the end of this month. Well, I don't have tomato plants for reasons that'll probably be the topic of another video. So I think I am going. I think I did say that I was going to go, but I know that I'm not going to make a lot of sales. So I'm going to change, so even though I'll have plants there, my whole thing is going to be more of trying to get people to, build my client list, like my customer base, because I'm going to be offering classes in January. And so even if people don't buy stuff, I'm just going to be passing out business cards, chatting people up, just trying to, hopefully get somebody to eventually come back to my thing, to my booth. So that's how I'm looking at it. But like I said, for next year, it's going to be the type of thing that some of the special events, I'm just going to say, this is a day I'm not going to go to the market. So there's that. The other thing to keep in mind is a farmer's market isn't a farmer's market is not necessarily a farmer's market is not necessarily a farmer's market. Okay, so every farmer's market has a different vibe, and so I participated in 4 this year, and so what the vibes that that I was seeing, and when I did visit some as well. So the vibes that I was seeing, that you have farmers markets that are more like craft markets. You have flea market, more farmers market, like flea market type things. You can have an open air mall, and then you have open air supermarkets, and then you have special event type things. So like, for example, my town has a lot of special events. Like, for example, they have like a wine festival, they have Oktoberfest, and they have vendors, so many different types of vendors. It's just kind of like, you want to be a vendor, you can come to be a vendor. I mean, there's artists, there's clothes, there's crafters. I mean, it's just everything. If you want to be a vendor, you can go. Do those people make a whole lot? Not necessarily. I mean, if they're a crafter, they're kind of like a crafter that's doing like, little cheap bracelets or something like that. Yeah, they may do okay. If they are food vendors, food vendors, they always do well. But like, for example, one of the festivals I went to, there was a woman who was an artist who had oil paintings. Now, I bought a couple of their little ones that I don't think I've ever showed you guys those, but there were little ones. I bought them. Most people were not in there to buy. I think she was just hoping, and the thing is, it was a lot of people there. And so I think she may have got lost in the crowd, but it's just one of those things that, as a plant vendor, would I ever do a special event like that? No, I would not do a special event like that, because it's just, for me, it just would not be, people are there to have fun. Lugging around a plant or a tray of plants is just not something people are going to do. Then you have like craft markets. So craft markets, they're going to be catering to crafters and makers. That may be a situation where, like, if you're food vendors, it seems like food vendors, at least to me, can always do well, because when people go to events, people are going to eat. And so if you're a food vendor, you're probably going to do okay, because people like to eat food when they're out. That's kind of a universal thing. People are out, they're shopping, they're going to eat. They need to eat. So it's going to be a little bit different. But craft market, there's some they're farmers markets, but it's like they're crafters. Like, basically the rule is you have to have made it yourself. And so but it's a little bit different. Like, for example, you may have a person who has sheep who makes their own yarn and that sort of thing. So that would be kind of like, those, crafters, makers, artisans, that sort of thing. As a plant vendor, probably not. I don't know that would be a good thing for me. Probably not. But that's just something to keep in mind. You could always look at it as an opportunity to go just to kind of get your name out there and pass out business cards. But if you're going just with the mentality of, I actually have to, sell stuff and make a decent amount of money, maybe not. The other thing is that some of these, like, for example, craft markets, some of those vending booths can be kind of pricey for a spot, like $200, plus dollars. So that's just something to keep in mind. Then you can have farmers markets that are more really like flea markets. And so that's a little bit different, because flea markets tend to be like secondhand used stuff. So it may not it may not be a match. I mean, it could be, you may be okay. It just depends. It's one of those things, definitely visit to see what kind of stuff that is. I mean, it may be the type of thing that there's so many different types of things there that people are just, you may be fine. It's just one of those things, just check it out. Now then you have some like essentially open air malls. Like sometimes they can be, like high-end farmers market products. Like think of like, the people who have like goats and make like the goat's milk, like facial soaps and that sort of things. And you selling plants, maybe absolutely fine, especially if you're selling plants that are more unusual. It kind of goes into that whole thing. You may be fine, but that's a completely different vibe in terms of the type of people who are there, what they're looking to spend, and that sort of thing. And then of course, the traditional farmers market is like the open air supermarket. So the thing with the farmers markets, now it may be different in your state. I can just tell you in my state that I know a lot of towns get environmental credits for having farmers markets, because obviously if you're having a farmers market, you're kind of like reducing that carbon footprint, because rather than to go from a farmer to a distributor to be shipped across the country, it's like, okay, you're going to the farm straight to the market. I'm going straight from my house to the market. It's cutting out a whole lot of transportation costs and that sort of thing. But the thing is, to get these credits, there are rules. And so with a traditional farmers market, especially if that town is really trying to get those environmental credits, their preference is going to be for agricultural vendors. So, flower farmers, the traditional farmers, apiaries, so people who sell honey, wineries. Interestingly enough, like there's local wineries, distilleries who are basically, growing and making their own liquor, who were the, it's I have a cat and a dog, and I'm hearing things clanging, and I don't know what's going on. I'll be right back.